Welcome to the show. My name is Daryl Kwao, and tonight we are going to be heavy on the 2017 budget, and you can understand why. Tomorrow is presentation day, and while the 2017 budget is set to introduce drastic measures to increase revenue for government's expenditure plans this year, some of these measures, which will be announced by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta tomorrow, will result in some laws being reviewed to change the way revenue is allocated to various sectors. George Affe has more in this report.
For some, the 2017 budget can be described as radical because of measures that it would introduce to make room for government to fund some of its campaign promises. It will also try to correct the rigidity that has been associated with the budget and make it more flexible so that the finance minister can have options to spend in areas that can be described as critical to the economy. On the revenue side, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to announce that government will abolish the special import levy, remove VAT on selected medicines that are not produced in the country. The 17.5% tax on domestic airline fares will also go off. VAT on real estate will also be removed. The 17.5% tax on financial service would be abolished. Some import duties on raw materials and machinery that are produced within the ECOWAS region would also go off. Government is expected to review the tax exemptions granted to businesses and also look at the possible sale of government's interest in some state-owned institutions. All of these measures could result in some significant boost in revenue, according to persons with some knowledge of the 2017 budget. On the expenditure side, government will look at the realigning of earmark funds and introduce some measures that would improve the fiscal space. All these interventions will ensure that
George, I feel with that update over there. And while the financial industry wants the finance minister to inject confidence into the economy as a step towards boosting growth in the banking sector as he delivers his 2017 budget statement tomorrow. Now, in an exclusive interview with Joy Business, Chief Executive of Royal Bank, Osei Asafreje, also noted local businesses are expecting strong policies by government to strengthen the economy for business growth.
Finance minister to look at the economy from the perspective of growth. I expect him to engender confidence by taking steps that will give the indication clearly that this government is for growth. Right now, interest rates are very high because government is crowding out the private sector by borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. I expect that there will be a clear pathway that will suggest that government is going to borrow less and less and less as the years go by.
You think there should be a cap on borrowing?
I don't think there should be a cap on borrowing, but there should be a deliberate policy to minimize borrowing by government so that at least the public borrowing requirement is reduced, and thereby the private sector will then have access to more credit. I expect the economy to be managed in such a way that interest rates can come down. Because right now, the policy rate is about 25.5. And if the policy rate is at 25.5, which is a guide to me, then it becomes very difficult for me to sell money below 25.5. So that alone is not encouraging interest rates to come down. People keep saying that, oh, treasury bill rates are coming down. But treasury bill rate is not a good benchmark. It is the monetary policy rate which is important. That is a better guide into the future, because the treasury, the treasury bill rate can easily be manipulated. It depends on how much appetite government has in terms of borrowing. If government decides not to borrow anything tomorrow, it can drop to below 10%. So it's something that can easily be manipulated, but it's rather the policy rate that tells me the path of the economy in the medium to long term. So if that rate comes down, then it's an indication that government wants more credit to go out there.
Presentation, what is the public saying about the priority areas that the finance minister should channel resources to? Well, my colleague Charles Aite joins us from the Oxford Street, I believe. Charles, what information are you picking up over there? I can see you. I can see the board. Looks very colorful.
Hello, Daryl. So as you can see behind me, so many concerns raised by concerned citizens of Ghana ahead of tomorrow's budget, which is going to be read by the finance minister. And very interesting things you can see here. The question is, where should government tackle? I mean, where should government tackle? What should government actually tackle the budget in this year? And we can see free electricity, free schools, roads, goods, jobs for that matter, free education, proper sanitation, issues of the provision of school amenities, and so many other issues. But I have here with me some of the writers of these concerns right here. Selassie happens to be an unemployed gentleman who's been without a job for the past 17 years. 17 is the number without a job. And he did write, you know, the issue about job creation. He's so much concerned about that. And Bright as well, he happens to be a student, and he also raised the issue about the quality education, free education for that matter, you did state. So let me start with you, Selassie. Why the job creation? Why the concern for job creation?
The government should provide companies.
You just speak.
Yeah,
speak.
companies.
Yeah.
Companies. So that we, unemployed, if your mother is not well to do, at least that company can employ you. You will earn a day meal. That's it. So the government should tackle that side, and educational aspect for that matter.
All right. Okay, so that's a concern of Selassie there. I may have to let him go and concentrate much more on the youthful generation. These happens to be our future leaders here. They've raised very key concerns. Bright, for that matter, state the fact that he would need it for government to tackle the issue of free education. In fact, the government did promise it, for that matter. And how does education link to business? Well, if we're having good education, we're having students trained in the best level, we're going to have the best expertise, for that matter, as our experts often do tell us, to boost the economy. So Bright is right here. You said the fact of education, the fact that you need the minister to address issues of free education and how he's going to tackle that. Why?
I would like the minister to capture the free quality education or free education, because if the education is quality, we are going to get good jobs to do, and we are going to get more experts to solve the problems of the bad economy we are having.
So that's your main concern, free education, as government has promised. So these happens to be the views of these concerned Ghanaians there. But, you know, if you could take a closer look at the board right now, very interesting things. But one thing that stays missing, Daryl, happens to do with the matter of utility tariffs and taxes, for that matter. Government has promised to reduce taxes, you know, marginally, but we do not see that in the board here. It's also the fact that most Ghanaians are not concerned about this very situation. They are concerned about the key issues that directly affects them: education, healthcare, and the provision of jobs. So these happens to be the key areas that they wish the finance minister addresses in the budget ahead of, you know, in the budget tomorrow, ahead of, you know, the fiscal year, Daryl.
All right. All right, thanks very much, Charles. Really interesting, very interesting, especially that the utility tariffs and high taxes didn't come up. And also interesting because you get to hear the views of students on what they expect from the budget tomorrow. Charles Aite, live for us from the Oxford Street at Osu. Well, we'll still stay with the budget because the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries will be holding the 2017 budget seminar next week under the theme Leveraging on Government's Initiative in the 2017 Budget for Private Sector Growth. Now, one of the speakers at the seminar will be CEO of Dalex Finance, Ken Thompson. He joins me to get some pre-budget analysis on what the private sector specifically expects from the budget. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Thompson. High expectations?
High expectations, yes, but you know, we're taking the wait and see approach. We're taking the wait and see approach. There's a shopping list. and we know that it's not possible for all the things to be done. So we've got to see what trade-offs will be. That's what we're looking forward to. And, you know, we are in a situation now where our productive sector, the real sector of the economy, has collapsed. So this budget, more than anything else, is one of the most critical in probably the history of this country. So we really are waiting, and really I hope that will be set. It will set a clear direction as to how we intend to recover from the situation which we're in.
You talk about the productive sectors of the economy. Which are your priority areas you think can boost productivity?
It's that simple. The only way we can get out of the problem in which we're in, and we have the productive sector of this country, this economy, is broken. It's absolutely broken. And the only way we can do that is to invest in the sector that we have competitive advantage, and for that investment to be led by the private sector. And the only sector where we have competitive advantage is the agricultural sector. And really, I get frustrated with the argument because we've been talking about this since independence. What's wrong with us? We've been talking about this since independence. We've got to a point where our whole country is unraveling in front of our eyes, and we're still having that discussion. It's agriculture, 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 private sector, private sector, private sector. That's it. The situation is unraveling. We have no future. I mean, what else are we going to do? I mean, this talk of industrialization, I think it's a medium to long-term plan. And when I think about industries in Ghana, I think about costage industries that will process agricultural produce. In any case, what factory are we going to set up, and what is it going to process? You know, back to basics, the things we've known about all the time, and just get it done. It's about the last time we'll ever have this opportunity to change this country. Because if we don't, well, the future for me is no future.
Okay, and well, going forward, I mean, we are expecting that the finance minister would announce some tax reliefs. Also, we'll be interested in finding out how the finance minister, or what amount of money is going to be devoted to, you know, fixing the power problem. It should be a matter of concern for the private sector, isn't it?
Well, you see, the reality on the ground is that power is expensive. Our power is expensive. No matter what you do, it's expensive. So anybody who uses power should start to take that into an account. It's part of your cost. There's nothing we can do about it. We used to have cheap power from hydro. That's not helping us now. Allegedly, we are paying for power infrastructure that we don't even use. Well, but it is what it is. The power is expensive. So if you are setting up an operation, think of the cost of power. But I wouldn't subscribe to any subsidy for power. I wouldn't subscribe to it at all, because in any case, the government is the worst institution to allocate resources. There's nothing that the government in this country has done that's been successful. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So power has a price. There's nothing anybody can do about it. If you're going to set up a business that will use huge amounts of power, then you've got to factor that price into your projection. It's as simple as that.
All right, thanks very much for your time. That was CEO of DLX Finance, Ken Thompson, sharing some views with us. You know, I mentioned tax release because that's what we expect the finance minister to announce tomorrow. Now, take a look at these figures we put up of what we expect the finance minister to say tomorrow. You're still watching Business Live. We want to move on now. And Chief Executive of Royal Bank, Osai Asafo-Adjei, has reiterated calls for government to initiate policies that will reduce the cost of doing business in the country. This is said would grant the opportunity for industry players to commit part of their investments to support development of key sectors of the economy. He spoke with Joy Business in an interview after the launch of the 2017 Royal Banking and Finance Challenge in Accra. This is Ebenezer Sabute's report.
Banking and Finance Challenge 2017 is an initiative by Edufair Ghana Foundation, an NGO in collaboration with the Royal Bank as part of the bank's corporate social responsibility for the educational sector. Chief Executive of Royal Bank, Osai Asafo-Adjei, noted the bank has committed about 250,000 Ghana cedi for the project this year.
In this year, we are putting over 250,000 Ghana. We've been sponsoring programs, especially in the universities. For instance, we have received some requests for sponsorship from University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, which we are considering. Businesses should give something back to society. Government alone can't do it all. So that is our little contribution towards supporting society. And that is why I think that governments should look at industry and try to reduce the cost of doing business. Because if that is done, we can increase our profitability and then donate more towards such laudable programs.
After the launch, Executive Director of Edufair Ghana Foundation, Eresi Enyimeyu, explains the competition to Joy Business.
This particular one came out of the idea that there are a lot of financial institutions in Ghana. We have a lot of business schools, and most students offering the banking and finance option. So the whole idea came, why don't we just put them together, try to also help bridge the gap between industry and academia. So that was how come this initiative came about. We are actually calling on corporate Ghana to help. We have some partners and we have a headline sponsor. We're very grateful, but then we still need a lot more support. So we're trying to see how best we can meet other corporate bodies to be able to get on board.
The Royal Banking and Finance Challenge is an annual competition for undergraduate students in tertiary institutions to help address low level of financial literacy in Ghana.
And we are taking a short break. We'll be right back with the Joy Business Van. Welcome back. Time now for the Joy Business Van. And IT professional Bernard Ofori's career took a different turn after a visit to Nigeria. Now, if you've been to that country before, you'd have realized that catfish is a popular delicacy over there. Well, Bernard decided to test the market for catfish in Ghana, and it appears to be paying off. Here's more. Bernard Ofori is lighting up the charcoal grill. It's 4 p.m. and his work has begun. At the Bamboo Gardens located at Abelinkpe in Accra, Bernard operates the catfish grill, a business concept he developed when he visited Nigeria.
Actually, part of it was I eat a lot of fish. So I came back and I was eating tilapia maybe 3-4 times a week. Now, what I realized was I got to a stage where I got fed up of tilapia and I wanted a change. And I couldn't find this anywhere. So I was thinking, if I like it, I'm sure a lot of people too will like it. And I couldn't find it anywhere else, not the way I like it anyway. So I thought, maybe there's an opportunity here. So I actually went back to Nigeria to learn how they prepare it.
Last year, Bernard decided to test the business in Ghana. But you'd wonder why a successful IT professional would even bother to start a business like this one.
And I'm adventurous in a sense. It's an opportunity to introduce people to something that is not common. Because up until I came to know catfish as it is, all I knew about catfish was that it was called mudfish and it was dried in soup. I didn't even know you could have it like this. So I thought, why not introduce people to it? Because it's available and it's a local product that we can add value to.
Patronage has steadily grown since he started operating in August last year. Currently grills about 40 pieces of catfish every day and delivers fresh catfish, which he cultivates at the backyard of his home.
It is a success in the sense that everybody who's tried it loves it. I've had very few people who have said, I don't like it. Once they try it and they're like, oh wow, I didn't know anything about catfish. Now I'll be eating some more catfish. I mean, so it's good for the local economy.
And very soon, grilled catfish will be competing with grilled tilapia. Bernard believes that so much, his immediate plan is to establish 10 catfish grill outlets in Accra. Bernard, however, is not in a hurry. It's a step at a time.
I'm trying to build it organically, let it grow, rather than employ a lot of people who will probably not do much. And I want to get my staff very involved so that they know all the intricacies. And also because it's a new product to me as well, I have to know the entire supply chain, to know the entire logistics and to understand how everything works.
It's approaching 8 p.m. and customers are beginning to troop in their numbers. Bernard's catfish is also catching on because of a unique recipe he spices the fish with. The ingredients remain a secret for now, but I get the opportunity to taste. Very tasty. And that was really tasty. You're still watching Business Live. Time now for some computer tricks on Busy Bits.
Did you know that there are some unique control options in each Microsoft program? Here are some things you could try the next time you're using Outlook for your email. Control R will enable you to reply an email, Control F to forward an email, and Control N to create a new email. And for a bonus, here's one more shortcut to try, Alt S to send an email.
Time now for our interview of the day, and we would focus on the budget. Now, the Chief of Party and Country Representative for the USAID Feed the Future Initiative, Emmanuel Dorman, has been speaking with Joy Business on his expectations from the 2017 budget on agriculture and the way forward for the sector.
Produce inefficiently, it becomes cheaper to import a commodity than to produce it locally. So if somebody spends $300 to produce 10 tons and you spend $200 but you only produce 2 tons, you're lost in the market. So that person can sell his 10 tons at a much cheaper unit price than you can. And that's what's accounting for a lot of the importation of food that you see on our market. We are importing because we are not competitive. We are not importing because we cannot produce. We can produce, but we are producing at an uncompetitive level simply because our productivities are too low.
The budget is going to be read this month. I mean, the first 2 weeks of this month, for that matter. Various stakeholders have expressed high hopes, even placed in their inputs, for that matter. You happening to be from the USAID Advance, what happen to be the key policies that you'd wish this government addresses? in the agri sector?
We expect to see policies on seed, which is a very critical one. We expect to see policies on fertilizer. If we're going to have subsidies, there must be very clear policies with clear implementation guidelines.
And that's it for Business Live tonight. Stay with us. We'll have full coverage of the budget presentation for you tomorrow. My name is Daryl Kwao. Stay tuned.